He's got a super-powered mind and a mechanical canine. That's right, we're talking about the adventures of Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius. Hi everyone, I'm Alyssa with Channel Frederator. You better prepare for a brain blast because we have 107 facts about Jimmy Neutron. The show's creator, John A. Davis, had the idea for Jimmy Neutron bouncing around in his head since the 1980s. The original idea, created with his partner Keith Alcorn, involved a young boy who runs away from home using a rocket ship that he made himself. The original idea was initially called Runaway Rocket Boy. Instead of Jimmy Neutron, his name was Johnny Quasar, and his first appearance was a cartoon short similar to the "Gotta Blast" intro in the Jimmy Neutron show. Johnny Quasar ducked out in a lab coat, flew his rocket into space, waved to the camera, and zoomed off. The Runaway Rocket Boy short was entered into a Lightwave demo competition at SIGGRAPH, which was then the world's biggest animation and 3D software convention. It won 2 Wavy Awards there, Best Character Animation and Best in Show. Ace Ventura writer Steve Udikirk found out about Runaway Rocket Boy after its run at SIGGRAPH and wanted in on the project. He felt like the idea was fun, and he was one of the few people at the time who felt like a TV show using CGI animation was feasible. Udikirk helped Davis's company DNA Productions pitch the project to more studios. Once Udikirk's company O Entertainment became involved, Udikirk, Davis, and Alcorn started to craft a more polished look for the Johnny Quasar character. They removed the lab coat, gave him a more iconic hairdo, and made him look older, though the character still remained a kid. The show was also renamed The Adventures of Johnny Quasar. The first look at the show totally impressed Nickelodeon executives. The channel's president of film and TV entertainment, Albie Hecht, was immediately blown away and said that the show's animation was so sparkling and had a future retro style. Nickelodeon ordered a 13-minute pilot that started production towards the end of 1997. The show was pitched alongside the idea of the movie. Udikirk bragged to the Nick execs that the computer animation technology could use its assets from the show for a feature film as well. This also sat well with John A. Davis, who was excited about the idea. The Jimmy Neutron movie started production in 1999. One major factor behind Nickelodeon's love of Jimmy's character was the fact that, while he was a genius, he still acted his age and liked kid-type things. Udikirk's 6-year-old daughter, Zoe, was a huge help to him on the show. The overall process was highly collaborative across the board, and the burping soda invention used at the end of the movie came from Zoe herself. Her dad gave her a shout-out in the credits. Aww. Jimmy Neutron was definitely a family affair. John A. Davis's wife, Kim Saxon, was also involved in the film. Saxon was a production manager for the movie. Lots of concepts and characters in both the movie and the show were influenced by things that Davis, Alcorn, and Udikirk had seen as kids. For example, the monster from the movie Poltra is a parody of the monster from the 1961 film Mothra, who also appeared in the Godzilla franchise. Other influences include Ray Harryhausen and Thunderbirds. The creators thought a lot about what they had wanted and dreamed of as children, which was also where the amusement park rocket scene came from. There are numerous differences between the Runaway Rocket Boy pilot versus the movie and show. Most of the characters had different clothes. Judy Neutron had darker hair, and Goddard had a different voice actor. DNA Productions also used this original logo of a purple cat-like creature wearing a bow tie and lab coat. In the pilot, Jimmy wore a striped shirt, shorts, and loafers, whereas in the show, he wore his trademark red shirt with an atom on it, jeans, and tennis shoes. The striped shirt look can be seen in a photograph in the Neutron home. Jimmy's characterization also changed quite distinctly over the course of the show. In the film, he was depicted as naive, shy, clumsy, and a bit childish. On the show, and especially in later episodes, Jimmy became more arrogant, irritable, and a bit of a know-it-all, though he was also a strong leader. In addition, Hugh Neutron's personality changed between the pilot/movie and the show. In the pilot and movie, he was a lot more authoritative and had a deeper voice, whereas in the show, Hugh became the bumbling spoof of a sitcom dad. He was also the only character to keep his original appearance throughout. The original name for Jimmy Neutron, Johnny Quasar, came from a nickname that Davis had when he was younger. He worked for his father's company while he was in high school and college, and the employees used to good-naturedly tease him for his fascination with sci-fi and geeky stuff, calling him Johnny Quasar, Space Cadet. The Jimmy Neutron name was made because Johnny Quasar wasn't unique enough. Davis ran into legal issues with the pre-existing characters of Johnny Quest and Captain Quasar. He was only given 24 hours to come up with a new name for the character, and so he and his wife Kim brainstormed new names while walking their dog. And no, their dog's name wasn't Goddard. The Jimmy Neutron movie was produced in only 24 months. This production schedule was so tight that DNA Productions had to expand their employee roster from 20 people to 120. DNA Productions originated in Dallas, Texas. Udikirk cold called DNA to ask them if he could help develop the project. Originally, DNA was doing local car commercials in Dallas. Talk about humble beginnings. Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius received an Oscar nomination for Best Animated Feature. It was nominated during the first year for the category along with Monsters, Inc., but lost to Shrek. It is only one of 2 Nicktoons to ever be nominated for the category, the other being 2011's Rango. The then president of Nickelodeon Studios, Albie Hecht, lobbied for Jimmy Neutron's inclusion in the Oscar nominations. Nickelodeon and Paramount both launched campaigns to influence the Academy's voters, and Hecht claimed that he called all his friends, and that Paramount's campaign for the movie was classy and not gaudy or overbearing. After the pilot was greenlit, Alcorn and Davis worked on the show Bible. This took place after the show won its SIGGRAPH. Alcorn and Davis then worked on the material needed to expand the show beyond just a movie, and they did so in between their time making commercials with DNA Productions. Sheen, everyone's favorite mildly insane Ultralord fanboy, was originally going to be Japanese rather than Latino. He's even named after one of Davis's co-workers of Japanese descent. However, the crew had a hard time finding a Japanese voice actor to fill the role, so they opened up the casting choices and found actor Jeff Garcia. The proportions for the show's characters and the cartoony animation style caused some problems for the animation team. According to John Davis, having the characters do normal things like handle objects or go through doorways was difficult. With characters like Jimmy's mom, who has that huge triangular hair, movement became a problem. Meanwhile, Jimmy, with his notorious noggin and short legs, was unable to reach doorknobs, but making a door smaller would only make it look more abnormal. The studio used the software Lightwave to render the animation for the movie and show. A more complex program like RenderMan, which is what PIXAR uses, would have required double the work to utilize because it needs coders and animators. The Jimmy Neutron team had to update to newer versions of Lightwave while they were in the middle of animating because the program had still been in beta. The animation team initially used only 6 animators before expanding, when Paramount came on board. According to Udekirk, the animators still worked the same with a big team as they did with a smaller one. They continued to work with home computers in the aforementioned Lightwave software. The planning stages for the show's animation didn't use storyboards the same way that 2D shows do. The planning process for a CGI show has more in common with a live action than it does with traditional animation, so the team had to approach it accordingly. In the storyboards, the team would think about what kinds of shots they wanted, long shot, master, close-up, and then revise it based on the actual environment for the scene. Jimmy Neutron can be measured in polygons. Davis noted that the Kid Genius's size changed depending on the resolution, but on the higher end, Jimmy has been about 1.5 million polygons. Wow! The green slimy yolk innards of the Yokins in the Jimmy Neutron movie were hand animated, but due to how complicated their motion can get, particle fluid dynamics were used when the yolk spilled. Co-creator Steve Udekirk was a stand-up comic before he began working in cartoons. While in Hollywood, he was a writer for Ace Ventura: Pet Detective, as well as its sequel When Nature Calls, which he also directed, and he also worked on scripts for The Nutty Professor and Patch Adams. The Adventures of Jimmy Neutron was not only Nickelodeon's first computer animated show, it was also the first TV show to be based off a movie instead of the other way around. 2016 was the 15th anniversary of the Jimmy Neutron series. The movie was released on December 21st, 2001 by Nickelodeon Movies. The series ran for a total of 3 seasons and 61 episodes, not counting the initial Runaway Rocket Boy pilot. There were 20, 20, and 21 episodes in each season respectively, and 4-hour-long double episodes: The Eggpire Strikes Back, Operation Rescue Jet Fusion, Attack of the Twonkies, and The League of Villains. If you didn't notice, the series has a ton of references. Jimmy's adorable robot dog Goddard is named after a famous figure in science, Robert H. Goddard. He was an American physicist commonly referred to as the usherer of the space age, and was the first to create a rocket that ran on liquid fuel. Jimmy's full name is James Isaac Neutron. This is a clear, though possibly accidental, reference to Sir Isaac Newton, the physicist with the awesome wig who's famous for discovering the properties of gravity by dropping apples. Sheen and Libby's last names weren't revealed until later in the show's run. During the episode Jimmy for President, their elementary school principal refers to them as Sheen Estevez and Libby Fulfax. Carl and Sheen's full names weren't ever revealed on the show. According to TV.com, Carl's is Carlton Ulysses Weezer, and Sheen's is Sheen Yarere Estevez. He was named after the Sheen acting family, whose real name is Estevez. Jimmy's father also has a full name, Hugh Baumount Neutron. Hugh Baumount was the name of the actor who played Beaver's Ward Cleaver father on the 50s show Leave It to Beaver. The name of the episode Out Darn Spotlight is a reference to Shakespeare's Macbeth. The episode is about a play put on at Levenberg Elementary called Macbeth in Space, and the episode title Out Darn Spotlight is a kid-friendly pun on Lady Macbeth's line, "Out damn spot," when she tries to obsessively remove blood from her hands that isn't there. There are actually a surprising amount of references in the episode titles that will go over kids' heads, but make their parents and older siblings laugh. A few examples are the season 1 episode I Dream of Jimmy, a clear shout out to the popular 60s sitcom I Dream of Jeannie. The title Journey to the Center of Carl, a reference to the 1864 novel Journey to the Center of the Earth by Jules Verne, and the Eggpire Strikes Back, a pun on the famous Star Wars movie. The episode Lights, Camera, Danger is a parody itself of several different recognizable Hollywood movies, including Lord of the Rings, The Matrix, The Sorcerer's Apprentice from Fantasia, Titanic, Chicago, and Harry Potter, among others. The school that kids in Retroville attend is called Lindbergh Elementary School. This is a clear reference to American aviator Charles Lindbergh, who made the first ever non-stop transatlantic flight in 1927. The character Nick Dean, resident elementary school bad boy and chick magnet, is also a reference that might go over the audience's heads. His last name is a shout out to actor James Dean, the iconic rebel without a cause who popularized the role in media in the 50s. Jimmy was voiced by voice actress Debbie Derryberry. Derryberry has a wide-ranging resume that includes credits in Tasmania, The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, and Disney's Tarzan. The studio kept Debbie Derryberry a secret, to the point that even interviewers had trouble getting a hold of her. This was because they were concerned about how people would react to the character being voiced by a woman. Maybe they didn't know about Bart Simpson's voice actress Nancy Cartwright, or that nobody cares. It's the 21st century. To get into the right mindset to voice Jimmy, Derryberry tried to get inside a kid's head so she could understand their more curious and innocent perspective. When she'd walk her dog, she would try to study the kids playing football in the neighborhood to get a feel for what the boys typically said and how they said it. Derryberry studied pre-med when she attended UCLA, which, according to her, proved quite useful in voicing Jimmy. Pronouncing the lengthy, complex scientific and mathematical words that Jimmy throws around was made significantly easier because of the courses she took, like calculus, biochemistry, and organic chemistry. The competition to voice Jimmy Neutron was extremely stiff. Numerous known voice actresses auditioned for the role. Among them were, surprise surprise, Nancy Cartwright, so they did know, Pamela Adloin, who voiced Bobby on King of the Hill and Ashley Spinelli on Recess, and E.G. Daly, the voice of Tommy Pickles on Rugrats. All women. There's actually 2 male characters on Jimmy Neutron voiced by women. The other is Nick Dean, who was voiced by actress Candy Milo. Goddard was voiced by Frank Welker in the TV series. Viewers might recognize that name because Welker frequently voiced another famous dog, Scooby-Doo. Viewers might also recognize some voices in the hour-long episode Operation Rescue Jet Fusion. Actress Wendy Malick, known for her roles on Just Shoot Me and Hot in Cleveland, is the voice of the evil, beautiful, gorgeous, while Christian Slater, famous for Heather's True Romance and Mr. Robot, is the super spy Jet Fusion. Professor Calamitous was voiced by Tim Curry, one of the most recognizable voices in the industry, in addition to being a critically acclaimed actor. Viewers who grew up with Nicktoons also recognize Tim Curry's voice as Nigel Thornberry from The Wild Thornberrys. He was also the voice of the villain Hexus in Fern Gully, The Last Rainforest. Actor Rob Paulson voiced Carl Weezer, and he also has a wide range of voice acting credits. You've most likely heard him as the main hero sidekick Arthur on The Tick, PJ Pete in A Goofy Movie, and Donatello in the 2012 revival of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Everyone's favorite exchange student, Bolby Stragonovsky, was voiced by none other than Phil Lamarr. You'll recognize this name from his brief but memorable role as Marvin in Pulp Fiction, but also for his hundreds of voice acting credits that include Green Lantern on Justice League, Hermes Conrad on Futurama, Aquaman in the video game Injustice: Gods Among Us, and the titular Jack on Samurai Jack. The voice actors for Jimmy Neutron often tried to record together. This is a rarity in voice acting because it's not always possible with the actors' conflicting schedules. Caroline Lawrence, the voice of Cindy Vortex, explained that it provided more synergy with the cast and let them play off one another. The only characters to appear in every episode of the series are Jimmy, Carl, and Sheen. Jimmy's parents, Nick Dean and Libby, became a bit less prominent in season 3, and some characters didn't appear for entire episodes. Co-creator Keith Alcorn stated that Jimmy's birthday is in March. This makes his zodiac sign a Pisces. Intuitive, friendly, great at solving problems, and a compulsion to make changes in the lives of others? Yep, we'd say Jimmy Neutron fits the bill. According to the show, Cindy Vortex was born on June 5th. This makes her zodiac sign a Gemini. The hot and cold personality of that sign is a perfect fit for how she has a fiery attitude but passionate crush on Jimmy Neutron. Jimmy's official IQ is 210. 210! That's higher than Stephen Hawking at 160 and only 20 points lower than the smartest person currently alive, UCLA professor Terrence Tao. Goddard may be the character that's been in the most danger throughout the series. He's been dog-napped a grand total of 6 times. But who could resist stealing a mechanical dog that cool? Initially, the character of Cindy was a bit different from what we saw in the show. The name she started off with was Sally Proton, and her hair was going to be jet black. Unfortunately, Sheen is the only main character without a mother, which is notable because of how often the audience sees Jimmy's mom, even sometimes sees Carl and Cindy's mothers. The creator stated that Mrs. Estevez passed away when Sheen was too young to remember her, but Mr. Estevez is a loving dad and doing a great job. A running gag in the show is Jimmy's mother, Judy, getting hypnotized. It happens to her the most out of any character, and you may recall that in the Jimmy Timmy Power Hour special, she never stopped believing she was Mighty Mom. Speaking of Mighty, Patrick Stewart provided the voice of King Goobot for the movie. Yes, the Shakespearean actor, Starfleet captain, and X-Men leader, Sir Patrick Stewart. However, he was replaced with the voice actor S. Scott Bullock for the TV show. In the feature film, Ooblar, King Goobot's young brother and sidekick, is voiced by the Tony Award-winning actor Martin Short. Short is known for his roles in Father of the Bride, Mars Attacks, and Jungle to Jungle. The show's theme song was written by Brian Causey. The American punk band Bowling for Soup later created their own take for the movie. As awesome as it was, the original theme was kept for the TV show. The cartoon shorts that were released before the movie came out in tandem with online minigames. The games were available on Nick.com, and the website attached to the Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius film provided fans with an interactive experience that let them look into Jimmy's lab with a lab cam. Like any other show, there are sometimes small inconsistencies with the characters and their animations. One in particular is in the crossover Jimmy Timmy Power Hour trilogy. Cindy always has green eyes in the movie and show, but in one of the Power Hours she's depicted with blue eyes. Whoops. The Jimmy Timmy Power Hour episodes were technically challenging for the animation teams. While it might seem easy to move characters from one world to another, the 2D of Fairly OddParents and 3D of Jimmy Neutron made switching over quite difficult. According to Keith Alcorn, one major difference was that of the movement speed. Being hand-drawn cartoons in Timmy's world meant that the characters could move very quickly and frantically, whereas the complex CGI animation for Jimmy's world made the characters move more slowly and naturally. Trying to make Jimmy and Timmy shake hands was mind-meltingly tough for the two different houses of animators. The different character designs of the two shows also made crossing their worlds difficult. Making Jimmy blend in with people from Timmy's world was hard because of their size. All the kids at school in Dimsdale have extremely short torsos, but when that animation style was shifted into 2D Jimmy, it looked really odd. Not to mention the characters in Jimmy's world have 4 fingers and a thumb, but those in Timmy's world only have 3 fingers and a thumb. The first Jimmy Timmy Power Hour aired in May 2004. It had an average of 4.96 million viewers. Wow. This made it the most watched entertainment show that week on basic cable. The second Power Hour, the Jimmy Timmy Power Hour 2, When Nerds Collide, had even more viewers than the first. Specifically, it had 5.48 million, so almost 500,000 more. Critics felt that the plot for the first Power Hour was a bit too frantic and complicated. This makes sense considering the fact that the creators literally combined 2 very different cartoons together in a blender to make something awesome. However, a People.com reviewer noted that, while it's too crazy for the adult brain to assimilate, the hour-long special was still a blast of creativity. Time for some Jimmy Neutron fun facts! Beginning with the episode Holly Jolly Jimmy, which is entirely Christmas themed, even down to the scene transitions. This is the only episode to use different transitions than can normally be found on the show. Like all of us, supervillainous Beautiful Gorgeous had a dream job. And no, it wasn't becoming a Bond-like villain. The job she actually wanted was to be the person who put the plastic caps, aka aglets, on the ends of shoelaces. How exciting? The Retroville kids' homeroom teacher, Mrs. Fowl, is older than she looks. How do we know? Well, canonically, she has been teaching for 74 years. That's a long time! She ages well. Goddard is pretty much the perfect pet. He combines the best qualities of a smart robot that knows a lot of commands and a cute dog who's loyal to his owner. According to the show, he can do a grand total of 11,000,004 different things, including turning into a fly cycle and literally playing dead by self-destructing. But the one thing he can't do? Clean up after himself. Even though Goddard is technically a main character, he has only one episode that focuses on him. It's the season 3 episode Best in Show, in which Goddard runs away from home after being disqualified from a pet contest because he's a machine. Aw, it's okay, boy. We still love you. There is a theory that Cindy might be adopted. Jimmy himself actually brought this up, noting that the colors of her hair and eyes are different than that of her parents. Additionally, a 2005 Nickelodeon Equinox card claimed that she was born in Las Vegas, Nevada, rather than Texas, as that's where Retroville is. Of course, being born in a different city than where the show takes place doesn't necessarily mean Cindy is adopted, but it does lead to further speculation. In July 2012, Rob Paulson hosted his Talking Toons podcast as Carl Weezer for an episode. During the episode, Carl jokingly reveals a number of things that would be awesome if they were true. For example, Sheen went to Juvie. Yeah, Juvie, after returning from the planet he was stranded on Planet Sheen. He also mentions that he had a crush on Cindy once. But as this wasn't confirmed by the creators, we can only pretend it's true. One of the animators and concept designers behind the show is an acclaimed sci-fi and fantasy artist who is a pioneer in digital art. The work of artist Fred Gambino was used in a book published by HarperCollins called Masters of Fantasy Art, which was about the trajectory of modern illustration from traditional to digital forms. John Davis was searching for illustrators to do concept designs for the film, and he reached out to Gambino asking if he wanted to work on the movie. According to the show, this isn't Nick Dean's first time going through 5th grade. He was tardy way too often, so he wasn't allowed to graduate the first time around. This also makes him a year older than all of his classmates. Nick Dean was actually set to become a more major character for season 4 before the show was cancelled. He had a noticeably larger role in the movie and in season 1, but season 4 would have made him rejoin the main group and have his character fleshed out more, as well as a relationship with the other kids. Even though Jimmy's mother Judy is the smart one, the genius gene apparently comes from Hugh's side of the family. Jimmy finds this out in the episode Clash of the Cousins. Everyone knows Carl's love for llamas, but did you know why he likes them so much? After getting more cable channels, Carl found a channel that featured only llama content. It was there that he discovered the llama superhero Llama Boy. That was the turning point of Carl's life, and there was no going back. For her few brief appearances on the show, Grandma Neutron was voiced by Phyllis Diller. This wasn't her only role on Nickelodeon. She also played the minor role of Aunt Mitzi in Hey Arnold. Sadly, the talented Phyllis Diller passed away in 2012. Veteran actor Mel Brooks makes a vocal cameo on the show as well, as none other than the Santa Claus. Like some of the other guest stars, young kids won't necessarily notice him, but older viewers would definitely point out his voice. Jimmy Neutron is a playable character in the 2007 video game Nicktoons Attack of the Toybots. As a franchise mascot for Nickelodeon, he's one of only 5 characters featured on the Game Boy Advance, PS2, Wii, and Nintendo DS versions of the game. The others featured across platforms are Timmy Turner, SpongeBob, Danny Phantom, and Tack. Originally, there was going to be a sequel to Jimmy Neutron that was to be written by screenwriter Kate Boileter. She's the woman behind the script for another Nicktoon film, The Wild Thornberrys. Unfortunately, the Jimmy Neutron sequel did not end up happening. The Adventures of Jimmy Neutron was nominated for 6 Annie Awards between 2004 and 2006 and won 2 of them. In 2004, the show was awarded Outstanding Achievement in an Animated Television Production produced for children, as well as Outstanding Voice Acting in an Animated Television Production for Jeffrey Garcia's work as Sheen in the episode Nightmare in Retroville. In a popularity survey from 2001, Jimmy Neutron ranked higher than lots of other well-known cartoon properties during its heyday. The property had a high Q score, which is a rating that assesses appeal and familiarity even before the show was released. Paramount and Nickelodeon's marketing strategy was so effective that several months before the movie even came out, it placed within the top 25 shows on television, ahead of Cow and Chicken and Digimon. The film premiered a full year and a half before the show. Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius came out in December 2001, while the show aired its first episode in July 2002. Jimmy Neutron has generated quite a few memes, one of the most notable being the Jimmy Neutron Happy Family Happy Hour from 2013. This meme is a YouTube video made by a user that's famous for bizarre and quotable lines, such as "the pizza is aggressive," strange storylines, and 3D rendering that's more akin to bloopers from animated movies than actual good animation. It's odd, to say the least. The movie before show approach is a rarity for Nicktoons, which makes Jimmy Neutron rather unique. For example, SpongeBob didn't get a movie until 5 years into its run as a show, but the team behind Jimmy Neutron felt that the feature film would kickstart the show, and they were right. Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius was on Netflix for a while, but was removed nearly 15 years after the movie originally aired. So if you got to see it before October 2016, lucky you! Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius has a 75% rating on Rotten Tomatoes and is certified fresh. Reviewers from sites such as Common Sense Media and Entertainment Weekly noted that the movie is reminiscent of kids' fantasies and harkens back to the fantastic, impossible dreams everyone had when they were children. And while it's predictable and a bit corny, it's still a lot of fun. The Jimmy Neutron movie received 3 out of 4 stars from respected critic Roger Ebert on his movie review site, which is a pretty big deal. According to the man himself, the production is of course aimed at grade schoolers, but adults who appreciate the art of animation may enjoy the look of the picture, which Ebert said is visually original and compares to Toy Story. At one point, Jimmy Neutron even had his own ride at Universal Studios. It replaced the fantastic world of Hanna-Barbera in 2003, but was eventually closed and repurposed again in 2011 to become the 3D simulator ride Despicable Me, Minion Mayhem. Part of the reason Jimmy Neutron was cancelled was because the studio ran into trouble. The producers wanted to make a 4th season, but the plans were trashed after the less than ideal performance of the Ant Bully forced DNA Productions to close. The unmade 4th season was going to be darker in tone than the first 3. The season premiere, called Deep Impacts, would have been about the return of evil Jimmy after their last encounter on the moon. There also would have been an episode in season 4 focusing solely on the female characters. In it, Cindy, Libby, and Jimmy's season 1 crush, Betty Quinlan, would have become accidentally trapped in Jimmy's lab and have to work together to find a way to escape. Cindy would have also opened up about her reasons for disliking Betty, and they would have become friends. The show may be officially over, but its influence is not. Brooklyn Nets point guard Jeremy Lin was rocking a familiar hairdo in February of 2017. He got his tower of dark hair cut into an impressive pompadour reminiscent of our favorite Boy Genius, even calling it a Jimmy Neutron hairdo. Here's hoping he yells, "Got a blast!" during a layup. But that's not the last we've heard from fans. There's even an online petition to bring back the show. Simply called Nickelodeon Renew the Adventures of Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius for another season, the petitioner discusses the box office haul of the movie and the high viewership of the show, but also notes its cancellation and the subsequent shutdown of DNA Productions. The petitioner lists a host of reasons to bring it back, citing its cult following, its themes based around space and science, and its ability to possibly boost the Knicks' viewership. John A. Davis would welcome the chance to do more episodes. Much like the all-grown-up installment of Rugrats movies, Davis said that he has a new Jimmy Neutron story that he'd like to try if the chance ever came up. Apparently, time travel is involved. One reason why Davis would like to bring back Jimmy Neutron is because of the demographic. In an interview, he noted that the time is right for a reboot because the audience of kids who grew up on the show are now starting to have families of their own, and it would be nice for them to be able to share a part of their childhood with their own kids. The show actually had a spin-off called Planet Sheen. It aired from 2010 to 2013 for 26 episodes. As the title says, the show show followed Sheen accidentally blasting off the planet in one of Jimmy's rockets and crashing on a planet 4 light years away, otherwise known as Xenu. He spends his time on Xenu trying to fix his rocket and evade the at times hostile locals. Once again, I'm Alyssa, and thanks for watching 107 Facts About Jimmy Neutron. Do you think it should come back or have another TV film? Comment below and let us know. We have new videos dropping every week, so let us know which animated film or TV show you want us to cover next. Make sure to subscribe to Channel Frederator for future videos, and click the bell icon to become part of the notification squad. And remember, Frederator loves you.